Jai Srimad Maharaj Sto Jai Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Jai Srimad Maharaj Sto Jai Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 14, Ideal Family Life, Text 2. Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vastito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamunin, Griheshva Vaspito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamuni, Griheshva Vastito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamuni,
Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vasito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamuni,
Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vastito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamunim,
Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vastito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamunin,
Vaishnavis.
Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vastito Rajan,
Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat, Upasita Mahamuni, Sri Narada Uvacha, Griheshva Vastito Rajan, Kriya Kurvan Yatochita, Vasudevapanam Sakshat,
Narada Uvacha.
Sri Narada Uvacha.
Sri Narada Muni replied.
Sri Narada Muni replied.
Griheshu,
Griheshu,
at home.
at home.
Avastita,
Avastita,
staying.
staying.
A householder generally stays home with his wife and children.
Householder generally stays at home with his wife and children.
Rajan,
Rajan,
O king.
okay.
Kriya,
Kriya,
activities.
activities.
Kurban,
Kurban,
performing.
performing.
Yatojita,
Yatojita,
suitable,
suitable.
as instructed by the Guru and Shastra.
As instructed by the Guru and Shastra.
Vasudeva,
Vasudeva,
unto Lord Vasudeva.
unto Lord Vasudeva.
Arpanam,
Arpanam,
dedicating.
dedicating.
Sakshat,
Sakshat,
directly.
directly.
Upasita,
Upasita,
should worship.
should worship.
Mahamunin,
Mahamuni,
the great devotees.
the great devotees.
Narada Muni replied, my dear king, those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood, and instead of trying to enjoy the results of their work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna, Vasudeva. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of great devotees of the Lord. Purport. The format for Grihastha life should be dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 6.1 it is said, Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyaha satsanyasi cha yogi cha na nirlagnir nachakriyaha. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Whether one acts as a brahmachari, girihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi, he must act only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. This should be the principle for everyone's life. Narada Muni has already described the principles of life for a brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. And now he is describing how a grihastha should live. The basic principle is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The science of satisfying the Supreme Lord can be learned as described here. Sakshat upasita mahamunin. The word mahamunin refers to great saintly persons or devotees. Saintly persons are generally known as munis, or thoughtful philosophers concerned with transcendental subject matters. And Mahamuni refers to those who have not only thoroughly studied the goal of life, but who are actually engaged in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. These persons are known as devotees. Unless one associates with devotees, one cannot learn the science of Vasudevarpana, or dedicating one's life to Vasudeva, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In India, the principles of this science were followed strictly. Even 50 years ago, I saw that in the villages of Bengal and the suburbs of Calcutta, people engaged in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily when all their activities ended, or at least in the evening before going to bed. Everyone would hear the Bhagavatam. Bhagavat classes were held in every village, and thus people had the advantage of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes everything about the aim of life, liberation or salvation. This will be clearly explained in the next verses. Translation again. Narada Muni replied, my dear king, Those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood, and instead of trying to enjoy the results of their work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna, Vasudeva. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of great devotees of the Lord. Om Jnana Chimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yudhisthira Maharaj has very humbly inquired in the preceding verse at the start of this chapter, what can we who are bewildered living at home, what can we do to understand the ultimate goal of life? How can we attain it easily? We who are Giriha Mudhadi, who are always bewildered about what is the goal of life. We were speaking last night about how people will acknowledge life is a journey. We're on a journey. But they have no idea of three things. How did the journey begin? Where is it supposed to end? And what's the point of the whole journey? This ignorance is due to the absence of contact with saintly personalities, with great devotees. In the Sangha, in the association of devotees, even for a moment, a break in the clouds can happen, and persons can get a glimpse of their deluded condition and how there must be something higher. Yudhisthira Maharaj has the association of Narada Muni. Yudhisthira, of course, as you know, is part of the entourage of Lord Krishna. Yet he considers himself to be fallen. I'm bewildered. Tell me, what is the goal of life? What's the point of the journey? In this way, Yudhisthira Maharaj is mercifully showing us who are truly in ignorance the path forward. And this is what people so much lack today, the path forward. They're bewildered on all sides more than ever in the name of progress. The latest term is the polycrisis. That means a situation in which so many different crises all impact at once, creating an effect that's more than the sum of the parts. The holistic effect of the polycrisis is that all this different crises combine and create something even more intense than just adding up the effect of all the crises. The whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. So that's the latest word, polycrisis. Economic uncertainty, political instability, environmental disruption. Humans are bewildered today, and it's becoming more and more apparent. Maybe if you said this even 5 years ago, before COVID, especially 10 years ago, people would accuse you of being a doomsdayer. How could you doubt the march forward of human civilization? There may be some bumps in the road, some speed bumps, but humanity moves onward, upward, higher. So the older generation believes that. They have that techno-optimism embedded in them, that some or other technology will sort all this out. Look at what IT is doing. Surely some miracle will be produced somehow by our technological society. But the younger generation doesn't share that optimism at all. So I was speaking last night about the largest world survey of youth done ever in 10 countries, piloted by some researchers from UK and some from Stanford here in the USA. 10 countries, including the USA, UK, Canada, Australia, even India. And the results were shocking for those who didn't know. 72% of all the young persons between the ages of 12 and 29. Does that mean anyone here? 1, 2, 3, just 3. You're not 12 yet, huh? 72% said that the future looks frightening. But it gets worse. 56% said humanity is doomed. And 33% were wondering, what's the point in even thinking of having children in the future? Who wants to bring up a child in such a disrupted world? And then the question was asked, will the government do something about it? Will it save the day? The highest percentage of that, of young persons who said yes, the government can do something about it, was 71%, India. And the lowest was the USA. So somehow the young people in India, I guess they're yearning for the Raj. They should be yearning for Raj Ram. But in the other countries like the UK, USA, the youth are very disappointed that these guys, these older generation and their leaders, they're doing nothing except causing more problems. So they're panicking. Where is human society going? How will all this pan out? You can see, even in Hawaii, Srila Prabhupada said, if there's one place in this world that you might call heaven, it's Hawaii. And now, look, the wildfires in Maui, over 1,000 homes burned, death count mounts daily. If you've ever been to Hawaii, you would think, how could such a disaster happen in such a tranquil place? The temperature never gets too hot, never gets cold. Every afternoon, before climate disruption that is, every afternoon a sea breeze would blow laden with droplets of moisture and cool you down in the afternoon, give you a pleasant feeling on your skin. How could, in such a paradisical place, could such disaster happen? But this will go on everywhere. From the environmental point of view, nature is retaliating. You're destroying me, I'll destroy you first. And from the viewpoint of Dharma, it's appropriate for nature to do that because human beings are off course. They're not living in nature according to the human purpose, which is, just as Yudhisthira Maharaj is asking Narada Muni, How can we easily obtain liberation? Those of us who are staying at home. And you note in the word for words, Prabhupada writes that a householder generally stays home with his wife and children. So Narada Muni is taking upon himself the need for inquiry from all householders. He's presenting himself as the repository of the inquisitiveness that all householders should have. Those of us who are griha mudhadi, bewildered about what is the goal of life. You ask anyone today, what is the goal of your life? Oh, I want to make lots of money. Oh, I want to be happy and fulfilled. I want to be passionate about what I do. I want to follow my ambitions, follow my dreams. But no one knows what is the point of all this, what is the goal of all this. And therefore, how can any of their so-called goals have any meaning when there's no connection to the ultimate goal of life? So Narada Muni is replying, my dear king, those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood. So often at programs, we get the question, well, Swami, you've spoken very nicely, but what about those of us in the real world who have to earn money and support ourselves, support families? What about us? You should point out to them, don't be so quick to anoint your version of existence as the real world. Don't assume that you live in the real world. So they want to know, how does bhakti apply to those of us in the working world? There's some kind of miscalculation that as soon as you talk about bhakti, then you're not talking about how to cope with life. They forget or they don't know. Bhagavad Gita is spoken to Arjuna, who's a family man and a military man. So I have to explain the principles of spiritual economics, just as Narada Muni is doing here. He establishes that householders must act to earn their livelihood. There's one song by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he writes, I will certainly earn an income to support my family, Krishna's family. And I'll be like a dog outside the door of Krishna's house, where Krishna's family lives. I'll be like a dog outside protecting the family. So there's no question of neglect of one's responsibilities. But at the same time, one should live as simply as possible. So both elements are there. Yes, act to earn the livelihood, at the same time, live very simply. And Srila Prabhupada goes through great endeavor in the purports to point out how this current so-called civilization puts people to work night and day and leaves them no time for what is the real goal of life. Working, commuting, remote workers online day and night. It's getting more intense and more intense. The 40-hour work week has become a thing of the past. I remember as a little boy growing up in New York, I was reading the newspaper, and it was highlighting the careers of the very near future, what was going to be a hot career, a great career, the cutting edge. In just a couple of decades. This was 1960 or so. So by 1980, this was sure to happen. If you wanted to know what the trend-setting career is, Be prepared for becoming a leisure time engineer. Why? Because people would have so much leisure time, they need someone to help them figure out what to do with it. Leisure time engineer. Well, it hasn't happened. In fact, the opposite has happened. People will, yes, give me some life coach to figure out how to deal with my work hours. But leisure time, no one has that. Just how to be more productive at the workplace. That's what the focus is on. One of the greatest economists in the Western pantheon, Keynes, John Maynard Keynes, said it about 100 years ago. He said, as society advances and the economy gets better and better, pursuing wealth will no longer have value. Everyone will have enough money and they'll realize that they have time to spend on their hobbies and on their personal development. That's going to happen. Wealth will no longer be such a goal. People will have leisure time and they'll want to know, which hobby should I do? How should I relax? Never happened. It's Kali Yuga. That means more and more you work like a dog. So what Narada Muni is pointing out is spiritual economics. And he'll talk about that more in the coming verses. Instead of trying to enjoy the results of their work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna, Vasudeva. How to do that is the next question. And Narada Muni responds. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of great devotees of the Lord. Without that guidance of competent devotees, it's hard for people to apply bhakti. Without that association, without that guidance, people get frustrated and cynical. Oh, what Bhagavad Gita talks about is so wonderful, but it's so far beyond us, it's impossible to attain. And then they get a little angry. Why has Krishna spoken about such a beautiful system, yet it's so impractical and unattainable by those of us who are in the working world, those of us who are in the family world? They can feel such frustration because of a lack of guidance. Bhakti is a guidance culture, as I always try to point out. Built within the system of bhakti is the need for guidance. That's why Arjuna, he's bewildered at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. He asks for guidance. Enough friendly talks. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prabhanyam. I'm your disciple now. Please instruct me. So spiritual economics means certainly you go to work, but you go to work to give, as I often explain. You go to work not to get, gimme, when I get more money, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, go on a cruise to the Caribbean, I'm going to get a faster car. You go to work to give yourself a bhakti lifestyle. To give it to your family and give it to as much of the world as your resources allow. So that going to work is a completely different state of consciousness. And therefore you can truly say that the results are up to Krishna. Krishna is the enjoyer of your labor. Because with your labor, everything is dedicated to a Krishna conscious result. You have to take care of yourself materially. So you're working for that, to give yourself a bhakti lifestyle. You have to take care of your family. So you give your family a bhakti lifestyle. And then at least something for the wider purpose of uplifting others beyond your immediate family. That's spiritual economics. And this is what the association of Mahamuni, the great devotee, can teach you. Great devotee simply means someone who says what Krishna says and acts according to what Krishna says. So Prabhupada starts off the purport by saying the format for Grihastha life should be dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He writes in the chapter summary something very interesting. Perhaps you could say it's prophetic. What Prabhupada is seeing down the road, who can say? Let's see. Specifically, a grihastha should engage in agricultural activities to earn money. You all ready for that? Who knows what Prabhupada is seeing down the road? We take society as it is now to be that it'll endure. It'll always be like the way it is now. Although, was it in Atlanta, I believe, where Prabhupada was walking out around and pointing to the tall buildings and saying what?
One day all this will be gone.
One day all this will be gone. No. Can never happen. So similarly, we respond in the same way to specifically, a grihastha should engage in agricultural activities to earn money. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishi Goraksha Vanijam, agriculture, cow protection, and trade are special duties of grihasthas. If by chance or by the grace of the Lord more money comes, it should be properly engaged for the Krishna conscious movement. One should not be eager to earn more money simply for sensual pleasure. A grihastha should always remember that one who is endeavoring to accumulate more money than necessary is to be considered a thief and is punishable by the laws of nature. So even in the chapter summary, there's so much information. And we shouldn't think that, oh, the way things are now, it'll always be that. It'll always be like that. So many generations have thought like that. And now you see the younger generation, as we said, Generation Z, even the millennials, they're just wondering, what's our future? Where's the boomers? Those in my generation, it'll work out. And anyway, we'll be gone soon. The younger people will figure out how to solve all the problems we made. They'll sort it out through some technological invention. Something will happen. Life goes on. So human society right now is at the crossroads. And nature is shaking them up. So this is no longer considered doomsday talk. It's the reality. Sometimes it's said that ISKCON in the 70s, 80s was ashram-based. Now it's congregational-based. We assume that every situation is going to always be the way it is. It was always going to be ashram-based. Or it was always going to be congregational-based. The next phase could be refugee-based. Climate refugee, war refugee. You can tell that to the persons in Hawaii, on Maui, the paradisical island. Beautiful homes, overlooking the ocean, the tranquility, the warm air, the sea breezes, all gone. So you might say, well, they've got money, they can just build again, right? But Hawaii is the most expensive place in the USA for having a home, for building a home. It's the most expensive place for everything because it's detached so far from the mainland that everything has to be brought in. Your fossil fuels, your so many products, all the essentials have to be essentials as considered by current society. All have to be flown in, shipped in. So these people know that unless they're extraordinarily wealthy, they're not going to be able to pick themselves up. So no longer is pointing this out considered doomsday talk. You're a doomsdayer, doom and gloom. Be positive. Tell that to nature. At the end of the purport, we hear about traditional life in India, the ideal. In India, the principles of this science were followed strictly, even 50 years ago. So Prabhupada is talking about even around 1925, the year. In the traditional village culture, where people would work in the fields during the day, and then in the evening gather somewhere for Harikatha, talks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then after the Harikatha session was over, people would walk home and discuss what they heard in the Harikatha session. They'd be absorbed in that way. And then upon reaching home, time to go to sleep, sun's down. And they would dream about the Harikatha that they heard and talked about. So that is real human life. What we can understand for our existence today is that whenever you get an opportunity to hear and chant about Krishna, you should be not simply proactive, you should be aggressive, you should seize that opportunity. Be very energetic about grabbing any opportunity to hear and chant about Krishna. That kind of eagerness is the blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right, any questions? Yes?
What is Lord Chaitanya's appearance, like golden age, that supposed to be in the Kali Yuga?
The whole earth will become Hawaii. No, golden age means you can go back to God very easily by chanting Hare Krishna. Doesn't mean materially everything's going to be like paradise. It's like there's a rainstorm going on, but you're having an umbrella, you're under the umbrella. Even though the rain is downpouring like anything, you're safe under the umbrella. So that's Lord Chaitanya's golden age within Kali Yuga. Amidst all the mayhem, you can still achieve the perfection of life and chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead.
Krishna conscious. I saw a little video interview where Obama is keeping Hanuman in his pocket and he says, praying to Hanuman for strength every day. So things like that mean like Krishna consciousness will spread like far and wide.
As long as the core remains pure, Krishna consciousness will increase. At the same time, you can see the world is becoming more and more disrupted. Usually, according to sociologists, what happens in such crisis situations is polarization. Some people become worse, and some people become better. The wishy-washy middle breaks apart when there's a catastrophe. You see the best qualities of human beings come out, and you see the worst. According to history and sociology, that's generally what happens when there's a crisis or a catastrophe. But what does Shukadeva Goswami say? Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parambhate. Kaled Dosha Nidde Rajan. O King Pritchett, this Asia Kali is an ocean of faults, a dosha nidhi. And in that ocean of faults, there's only one good thing. If you try to look for any other good thing, you're totally deluded. What's that one good thing? Asti heko mahangana. Certainly only one. Asti heko mahangana. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parambhate. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, you can easily achieve the ultimate goal of life. So that's the umbrella. The only one good thing. So you'll see more and more persons chanting Hare Krishna. You're seeing that all the time at your little outpost book table. Persons you never expected are taking full sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, thanking you for it. That would be inconceivable to devotees 50 years ago. I remember having a book table in Manhattan, New York City, 34th Street and 6th Avenue. So busy. And if we could sell one Bhagavad Gita a day, we were so happy. I sold the Gita. We'd go back to the temple and rejoice. I sold the Gita. Now you all just laugh at that. 2 Gitas, oh my goodness. You were considered an avatar. If you were out all day at your book table and you sold 2 Bhagavad Gitas, the whole temple would be buzzing. I remember one devotee, Vishvarita Prabhu, he went on 5th Avenue, the most luxurious, prestigious street in Manhattan, and he sold 10 Gitas in one day. Oh, we were just like, he's got mystic power. No one would ever think about a set of Srimad Bhagavatam. A set of Krishna books, that was something. Either 2 hardback Krishna books, volume 1, volume 2, or what they had back then called the trilogy. 3 softcover volumes, very small, in a slipcase.
So that the George Harrison concerts. That's
Yeah.
why they get that size.
So who would have thought that someone could, at a book table, to complete strangers, sell a set of Srimad Bhagavatams? So that's showing how the golden age is increasing. Simultaneously, nature is kicking human beings in the head. It is true, if Krishna consciousness, if bhakti becomes prevalent enough, nature will calm down. That may happen, it may not happen, but still you're under the umbrella, you're safe from the rain. And all those who you invite to come under the umbrella, they'll be safe. Their spiritual life will be safe because they're chanting Hare Krishna in the association of devotees. Anything else?
Thank you for a nice class, Maharaj. This one, if I'm not mistaken, Prabhupada said that if the Hare Krishna movement prevails more and more, then the war and disaster can be.
Then what?
War
War.
can be pushed back.
And later he said, They have these weapons, these nuclear weapons, they must be used. He said it's not, you don't have to be an astrologer to understand that. Weapons mean they will use them. Devotee said, well, didn't you say before, just like you said, that the war can be avoided if people become Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada just replied, if they're nuclear weapons, they'll be used.
So there is a chance of using nuclear.
Huh?
There is a chance of using nuclear in the war.
Why not? Everyone's got them.
Didn't he say Krishna made these weapons?
I don't know about that. We'll do our best to give everyone the chance to chant Hare Krishna. And then we'll see. But the main thing is we chant Hare Krishna and inspire others to chant Hare Krishna.
But you think the increase of preaching goes on around the world, you think these things can be avoided, as Prabhupada said?
It is possible. But take that as Krishna's mercy. It is possible. Honorary degrees from the university are possible. Right? But if you go to the university and don't study and think, I'll get an honorary degree, you're bewildering yourself. It's possible, just like in Nectar Devotion, so many extraordinary happenings to devotees are described. How someone immediately became absorbed in pure love of Krishna. So those descriptions show the peak potential of bhakti, but they're not usual. But the acharyas mention them to show you what could be, what could happen and has happened. But don't think, oh, well, that should happen to me automatically also. Okay? All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So there's the Maharaj.
Yeah.